If you're like me, you enjoy making a plan for things. But we all know that unexpected events happen and can easily derail the plans we've made. I've also learned that planning ahead and creating a buffer for those unforeseen circumstances is always a good idea. This is especially important when it comes to finances. Therefore, maintaining an emergency fund is a must. That's cash set aside that is quickly and easily accessible to cover those unexpected expenses or emergencies that happen. To plan for an emergency fund, it's crucial to ask yourself questions such as how much can I or should I put aside? What kind of expenses will this fund cover? And where should I keep these savings for a rainy day? Being prepared for the unexpected is always better than being caught off guard. So, when considering how much to put aside for an emergency fund, there are some general guidelines to follow. Typically, a good target to aim for is 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's not your income, that's 3 to 6 months of the expenses you're likely to have. It's important also to take into account any risk factors you have related to your income, the lifestyle you have, or the phase of life you're in. So, for an example, if you have one source of income in a family, multiple dependents, you may want to err on the side of 5 to 6 months of expenses or slightly higher. Conversely, if you have multiple sources of income, fewer dependents in your household, then maybe 3 to 4 months of expenses is an adequate emergency fund. The most important thing to remember, though, is that you're planning for unexpected events to keep yourself in a good financial place. So plan accordingly. While planning for an emergency fund, it's also important to think, what is the purpose of this fund and what will it cover? So, finding a good deal on something that you want, that's not an emergency, and it would be unwise to dip into your emergency fund for that reason. We want to think of the emergency fund just like we would an emergency exit in a movie theater or a restaurant. It's a last resort, and we should think of our emergency fund much the same way and use it accordingly. It's important to maintain high behavioral standards in finances to avoid jeopardizing your financial future for immediate gratification. So, really consider using the emergency fund as a last resort and as a safety net, not as excess cash to buy something when you see it on a good deal. So, if you do end up using your emergency fund, which we know is likely to happen at some point, you don't need to panic. You can gradually replenish the emergency fund over time. Set a realistic goal, how long you want to take to replenish back to the amount that you've already determined, and then set up an automatic transfer from your checking account into your emergency fund until that goal is met. Once you've met your goal, you can turn that automatic savings off and use those dollars for other planned expenses. And then repeat the same process if you have another emergency later on. Also, an important factor to think of with your emergency fund is the location of those dollars. These savings should not be considered investments, and we need to prioritize safety and security on those dollars that are going to provide for an emergency. So these dollars need to be saved in a savings account in a bank. Your local bank, brick and mortar bank that's close to you, that's certainly an option, but we would recommend considering using an online high yield savings account. These online high yield accounts offer the same features as a typical bank that you're using. You have FDIC protection, you have easy transfer from savings to checking within a few business days. But one major difference is the interest that you'll be gaining from using the online accounts. We want to keep your emergency fund safe, but also gaining a higher interest rate is a huge win. You're continuing to build your savings without putting them to risk through investment. Another great option for location uh, is a health savings account or an HSA. An HSA can be used to save dollars for planned medical expenses, unexpected trips to the ER, uh, your medications that you might be taking. And a huge benefit of an HSA is that it's tax deductible when you contribute. So you're lowering your taxable income while also providing a medical expense fund to cover any medical emergencies or planned medical expenses you have. So to conclude this video, we know that life throws curveballs, but with some proper planning, we can dampen the impact of those surprises. So we hope this video has encouraged you to get started saving for the future, or if you're already doing that, continue that discipline of planning for the unexpected and give yourself buffer so that emergencies don't throw you off your plan.